Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beasts New Generation episode number 33. This is the 9th battle of round 2 and I got two very interesting beasts here, both of which I kind of want to go far because of how unique one is in their certain group and the other formerly being my favourite of Series 17. So, with that being said, let's introduce the opponents. So, representing Series 16, the Siege of Gwildor, Book number 3, and the Slayer of Solix the Stone Cats, it's Solix the Deadly Swarm. And in the other corner, representing Series 17, the Broken Star, Book number 4, the Slayer of, God, what was his name? Styro, the Snapping Brute in episode number 7. And the only book of Series 17 remaining, Saurex, the Silent Creeper. Yeah, so, in case you don't know already, Solix and Saurex, they're the last book of their series. And, I think Solix is out for revenge because Saurex killed another beast from Series 16. Will Saurex add to his killing spree or will Solix get revenge on Styro? Be honest, who would want to get revenge on Styro? It's a lobster. I know, a swarm of ants. That's what will get revenge. Now with this battlefield, obviously I'm going to go over jungle as both of these beasts were fought in the jungle. So Lucas, you know what to do. Down in the jungle.
Down in the jungle where nobody goes.
Yeah, I knew. If he doesn't do that, I'm gonna look like a right idiot. But I don't need help with that. We've already been over this. But yeah, we're back in the jungle, and I think we're gonna change it up. We're not gonna go with the dark jungle. We're gonna go with. Now I need to think of another jungle. What other jungle was there?
Eventually,
You know what, screw it, let's go with the dark jungle, because I can't think of any other jungle. I know there's one in Tavernia, but I can't remember what it's called. So we're not gonna use it. So with that, now, if I'm correct, both Lucas and Impus are presenting these beasts with the stats. They are recycling old footage from round 1. But if I remember correctly, Lucas is introducing this one, was Impus introducing this one. So that being said, let's get to the stats.
Solix the Deadly Swarm, another beast conjured by Kensa from innocent creatures, this time millions of helpless ants joined together to create one gigantic insect beast. Her only weakness is sound, very high-pitched sound to be fact, but let's go on to her stats. Reform and deform ability, to go to swarm mode or a beast form similar to Creta. Sharp mandibles, pincers on each leg, weak to sound as you know, very high sound of course it has to be, and of course being an ant she has wall crawling. So, looking at her awesome abilities, she'll prove quite effective throughout this tournament.
Saurex, the Silent Creeper, the final guardian of the Broken Star. This giant lizard chameleon is made more deadly by his ability to camouflage himself, so that a quester won't see him until it's very nearly too late. Not to mention his awesome sick abilities. Let's take a look. Oh, you are so in for deep trouble now, as you can clearly see by these stats. Oh yes, the tail whip, the tongue whip, camouflage, agility and sharp claws. A good roundup of moves that could prove quite a challenge. And the stats are pretty good as well. So, let's see how the chameleon beast does in battle.
3, 2, 1!
Solix versus Saurex. Wait. Solix versus Saurex. Let's get into this. So, as Saurex is silently creeping... Hey, silent creeper. I'm sorry. Too early for this. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? As Saurex is creeping around the jungle, being cautious of not being seen, as he is a wanted beast. Wanted for killing Styra the Snapping Brute. Rewards, I don't know, a bucket of blood? Is that how much blood Saurex has? Yeah, I don't know. But, Series 16 beasts are out for revenge, let's say. So Saurex is just walking around, being careful of what his surroundings, because he knows there's a beast that's wanted to kill him. Solix is seeing him, and she deforms into millions of ants and just scatters up towards Saurex, and then forms up right behind him, lifts up one of her front legs and pushes it down on top of Saurex, pinning him down to the ground. And Saurex turns around to see Solix screeching in at him. Saurex, realising that he needs to try and get away, he swings his tail, goes through the joint ligament, which Solix saw, which she detaches from it, and giving Saurex the chance to use his strength to push those remaining ants on him aside and get away, dive into some water to wash away some extra ants that were left on him. He gets back up and runs into the trees where he camouflages, and the leaves are drying him off, so then he cannot be seen. Solix reforms completely, and carefully looking for where Saurex can be. She thinks she sees Saurex, so she lifts up a ligament and throws what seems like an imaginary boulder towards Saurex, but really just detaches part of her ligament, which gave her the momentum to just chuck herself into that area, but it goes right through the area which she thought she saw Saurex. From Saurex's point of view, all he saw was just a whole ligament coming towards him, which he moves out of the way as stealthily as he can, and that ends up going into some water, which ants actually can't swim. They will survive in water, but not for too long. They just can't swim. Yeah, I've seen a bug's life. Yeah. So Solix rushes over to the pond to try and save those remaining ants, whilst being careful not to get any more of her trapped in there. So Saurex realises there's an opportunity here, so he swings his tail around and knocks over a couple more legs that Solix is balancing on. She loses her balance and nearly falls into the water, but she deforms herself to where she's literally catching herself and falling in, saving some of the ants that were already in the water, and is when she gets back up reformed completely, she's greeted by Saurex ploughing right through her, just charging right through, knocking Solix to the side, whilst making a bunch of ants just swarm everywhere. Some land on Saurex, and Saurex turns around, jumps through Solix again, where more ants come in, and he dives into the water and makes sure to go and stays in there to where he's able to defend himself, holding his breath obviously because he can't breathe underwater, whilst also drowning the ants that were on him. Solix, in rage, what she does is she forces a foot into the ground, deforms a bit of it, and hundreds of thousands of ants that are now in the dirt are just making a pathway for the water to be drained out. And when they're ready, she gets back most of them except for 1,000 ants, and they just take away the parts of the earth where the water just drains out. Saurex realises this, and before he can get away, is pinned down to the ground by one of Solix's legs, with Saurex's tail, so he can't get away. He swings his claw to slash at it, but is instantly greeted by another leg pinning his claw to the ground. Swings at it again, another one. Tries to wiggle away but can't, and saving his tongue whip for later, he realizes that Solix is outnumbering him very well, and his only form of defense, which is the water, is gone. What Saurex does but what Solix does is that she doesn't kill Saurex right away. What she does though is that she just rubs him along the ground, along the mud which he was resting in, and then for some reason Saurex seems confused when Solix lets him go. Saurex gets away whilst he can, and goes to camouflage, unknowing that Solix rubs Saurex into the ground of mud, because now he's got nothing to wash off the mud with. The leaves can't get all of it. Solix can now see Saurex as camouflaged. So Solix decides to play a little game with Saurex, who's camouflaged and not moving at the moment, and just walks around pretending, trying to look around for Saurex. And when Saurex thinks that he got away from Solix, he's caught off guard by Solix lifting up one of her legs and just smacking Saurex straight in the face, knocking him backwards, causing him to become visible again, and is greeted by Solix just stampeding towards him. Saurex, what he does is he uses his tail whip and smashes it into a tree, knocking it down, crushing Solix, but just then Saurex is greeted by a swarm of ants coming his way. Saurex, honestly confused and kind of scared right about now, uses his claws and just makes a sand cloud, knocking some of the ants backwards, but it's also blinding them as well. And when the sand cloud covers Solix's vision completely, Saurex gets away, and what Solix does is that she reforms up, waits for the sand to get out of her eyes, and she instantly sees where Saurex is, just camouflaged again up in a tree. So what Solix does is that she makes her way towards the tree, reforms her leg into one of her legs into an axe, and swings at it, killing some ants in the process, but knocking over the tree to where Saurex is just confused of how he's been seen, and it occurs to him why he was being rubbed into the ground. So he jumps off and, coming visible again, lands on top of Solix, which only deforms and reforms above him. And then Solix lays down on top of Saurex. Saurex, trying to scratch his way out, can't seem to do so, and he realises that the pile is getting lighter and lighter. He's able to push his way out, and confused of how the pile got lighter and lighter, he fails to realise that some of the ants of Solix, or most of the ants of Solix, have gone inside of Saurex. He starts to feel a tingling all over himself, where he just feels a bit unsteady, just feels a bit irritated, and he turns around to see some Solix formed up, or some of Solix anyway, and just pinning Saurex to the ground, using a claw just to scratch at his scales, just exposing soft flesh for Saurex, in which she penetrates that flesh with her leg and just deforms completely into Saurex. All the ants inside Saurex are going for an internal organ, which is the main one being the heart, and just biting and taking away at the main points of the heart, connecting it to the other organs. Saurex, realising he's got to do something, decides that the best thing to do is that what he does is he he uses his claws and scrapes them against each other. Uses his claws, scrapes them against his arm, his legs, his body, his head, just creating a loud sound, basically, that is causing Solix to twitch, feel irritated, but the damage has already been done. Saurex starts getting a bit weaker. He tries to find something else that he can use to make a loud noise to irritate the ants, and he, just before he's able to find something, he collapses to the ground. all of the the swarm of ants get out of Saurex, forms back up into Solix, and just walks off knowing that the revenge has been paid. So with that being said, Solix has won, Saurex has lost. And I have one simple reason why I gave Solix the victory here. And to quote Hopper from A Bug's Life,
"You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up."
Those ants outnumber Saurex 1,000,000,000 to 1. And if Solix realises that, there goes his way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
And unfortunately for Saurex, he couldn't keep those ants in line. And they realise they outnumber him.
Where are you going? They're just ants!
And the strength was just too big for Saurex. And even though Series 17 and Series 16, I would prefer to see Series 16 get completely eliminated, I had to be fair, and Series 17 is now eliminated from the tournament. Which sucks, because Griff's in there, but I already paid my respect to Griff. So, moving on. But yeah, Saurex has lost, Solix has won. If you think Saurex should have won, please in the comments below why you think that. However, my word is final. I believe Solix is the right victor here. Until then, that's all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell down in the corner below. And until then, peace out.